raised the question of the Tanimu Turaki group of the PDP. In fact, he accused the media of being responsible for calling it a faction in that sense, that we describe faction, disagreement as faction, and challenged the Turaki group to say, okay, has INEC given you codes now to upload your candidate, alleging that he collected money and now he's stuck. When you hear such things, help us backtrack to what we're dealing with now, because as it stands, INEC has opened their doors to them. They're seen as the legitimate leadership of the PDP.
It's not today that we know that INEC is compromised. We've seen the INEC, Professor Josh Amukita was on the legal representation of President Tinubu in 2023. Professor Josh Amukita had a Twitter account that was supporting President Tinubu. So whatever you see coming out of INEC is not a surprise. There are many instances and reports of people who cannot register. So many untoward things INEC has done. I am from Edo State. Till today, we have petitions at the ICPC of Yeson Wike's cousin in Edo State, who I am aware of INEC officials who refused to go to the Resident Electoral Commission's office to submit their results. Instead, they went to go and submit it at the collation center because they knew he would manipulate it. We have him signed. We have a proof that was sent to South Africa to verify the signature of the result sheets, and it was clear that there were duplicate result sheets produced by INEC. We have petition, or rather, a non-governmental agency has petitioned ICPC, petitioned EFCC on this particular matter. So when it comes to INEC and what they are doing, I'm not surprised. Although I cannot say wholly that everybody in INEC is compromised, but there are compromised people in INEC. I make bold to say it. If you have followed the court judgment, just a very recent judgment of the appeal court held that the 608 NWC meeting, which suspended Kamaldeen Ajibade, SAN, suspended Senator Ayaun, by the way, is an expelled member of the PDP. The current secretary he's been expelled by the PDP because at the 608 NWC meeting, which the last appeal court said, and even made the clarification that the Supreme Court, while dismissing the 15th and 16th convention, did not in any way shoot down that the end of the 608 NWC meeting still stand. And at that meeting, Ayaun's expulsion, while also with the suspension, because you know there are two separate things that happened. He was suspended alongside 3 others. But the disciplinary committee's report, that's headed by Chief Tommy Kimi, was considered at that NWC meeting, and it upheld the report which said Ayaun stands expelled. But it put a caveat and said, pending the outcome of the case, because Ayaun had gone to court. And on the 12th of January 2026, the judge refused to grant Ayaun and upheld the decision of this marriage, which meant Ayaun is now, as we stand, an expelled member of PDP. So there's no way he can be secretary of PDP. No way. There's no way. I've written to the IG. The IG came out in a comment and said that it's not all petitions that are not criminal. It was a criminal offense for Ayaun, who had written a letter on the 17th of November 2024, yes, to INEC, then Mahmoud Yakubu, chairman, forwarding a judgment by no other person than Justice Peter Lifu, who at the time was acting in their favor, to give a judgment saying nobody from INEC should receive a letter that was not signed by Ambassador Ilya Damagum. And also, nobody should remove Damagum until the 9th of December 2025. Meanwhile, Ayaun now wrote another letter on the 3rd of November 2025 to INEC, introducing Abdurrahman, who is now the so-called chairman that they have. So how does INEC know Abdurrahman? Through the letter that was written on the 3rd of November. But let me tell you this. At the appeal court, Justice Oyenwem ruled, because Ajibade, who was in the class of that suspension, because 4 of them were suspended, Ajibade, Kamaldeen, Bature, and Osoha, held that Ajibade could not have, because Ajibade attempted to go to the appeal court to file proceedings to allow JB Daudi represent PDP. And he said, no, you cannot even come here because you have been suspended. And pending that suspension, you cannot take any action that is legal. And I do not see anywhere where that suspension was rescinded. This was in the first appeal court judgment that went to the Supreme Court. They appealed that judgment. The Supreme Court judgment that nullified the 15th and 16th November Convention had two prongs. One of the prongs was to annul that convention, and the second prong was to uphold the judgment of the appeal court with regards to Ajibade and the others that were suspended. Now, do you remember there was a pendency in Ibadan of an appeal court? So that appeal court came after the Supreme Court, and that appeal court reiterated. In fact, the judge said, let me repeat verbatim, because he was the one that gave that justice. He was the same person that gave that judgment in the first case. And he was now the lead judge in the second appeal court judgment. And he said, listen, let me repeat verbatim. Ajibade remains suspended. I do not see anywhere where that suspension was there. And I do not even see where he was re-elected. This is a pronouncement of the appeal court. And it has not been appealed to today. So I don't understand why someone who is a life bencher, who understands the outcome of court judgments, is misreading and misleading. Because he is the FCT minister, he has power to control the police. He can get judgments. I'm telling you, the judgment that was given, the one that I'm relying on now, that Damagum could not believe, was given by Honorable Justice Pitalifu, then trying to favor the wicked side, thinking that Damagum will remain with them. And today it has come back to haunt them, because the INEC itself is acting in disobedience of a valid court order that was specific. Do not receive any letter that Ambassador Damagum did not sign.
Yes.
Do not remove Damagum.
So that we can